Hey, what's up, guys? Gamer Guy here. And yeah, there's something I've been wanting to talk about. Spider-Man PS4. You know, the game that came out on the PlayStation 4 back in 2018 that shattered all records. It was the highest selling game on the PS4 at the time before The Last of Us Part 2 came out. Well, this video I kind of want to explain how I think, or I kind of helped contribute to the existence of Spider-Man PS4. Now, I know some of you are thinking like, what the heck are you talking about? Let me explain. Now, like the Sonic movie, for example, sometimes fan outcry and criticism forces a company to do better and to improve. We've seen that several times. Sometimes fans can criticize something so heavily and just trash it that the company listens and like, we hear your concerns, we're going to do better, stuff like that. And Spider-Man really needed that because there was a while where Spider-Man games were just so bad and they were just so uninspired, and this started with the Amazing Spider-Man games, like as back as 2012. Basically the 2010s wasn't so great with Spider-Man. Now, to the long-time subscribers of mine, I know a lot of you know about me playing a lot of Spider-Man games on the handheld, especially the Amazing Spider-Man 2 on the 3DS back in 2014. If you guys can remember, that game was trash. That game was so garbage. It was made by Beenox. Activision is the company that made all these Spider-Man games, and Beenox made it for the consoles, and then it was outsourced on handheld versions. So the one I was playing on the 3DS was made by a company called High Voltage Software. They made it on the 3DS, whereas Gameloft made a mobile version. And what I don't seem to understand is how the mobile version was actual 3D. It was open world, it had everything. It actually was a little better than the Amazing Spider-Man 1 on the handheld, which was basically like a 3DS version of the game, the console game. But the Gameloft version of TASM 2 was far better than the 3DS version. The 3DS version was like some 2D terrible arcade version. So I was just astonished. This was around the time where a lot of companies were starting to abandon the 3DS. The 3DS was becoming more obsolete, and this was just terrible. So yeah, I didn't even know High Voltage Software made the 3DS version until recently when I looked it up. It was just 2D garbage. Gameloft version was actually pretty decent. I don't know why they didn't port that on the 3DS. The 3DS could definitely handle it. I mean, the 3DS, proved to be the best handheld system before the Switch. It could handle a lot of games, even some console games, a lot of them, previous generation games. So I remember Nintendo Life actually made an article about High Voltage Software, because apparently High Voltage Software, or HVS, is a very reputable company. They've made a lot of games. They've done things with Fortnite. They made some zombie games, so they're pretty known. I mean, I didn't really know much about them, but they're best known for their work on 2 Wii first-person shooters on the Nintendo Wii. And it says, like, perhaps best known by Nintendo fans for its work on the 2009 Wii first-person shooter titles, The Conduit and its sequel, it seems the last few years have seen High Voltage returning to contract work, including Ben 10 Omniverse 2 and PC PS4 ports of Injustice Gods Among Us. It's not necessarily a bad omen to have a relatively high-profile developer on board for what might otherwise be demoted to a bargain bin movie tie-in. So it's like, what? They called HVS a high-profile developer when they made a less than a bargain bin game. So, I mean, The Amazing Spider-Man 2 was nothing special, both movie and video game, but the video game, the handheld version, was even worse than the console version. And it says, does the presence of High Voltage give you the urge to try this one out? The Amazing Spider-Man 2 is set to swing to Nintendo 3DS on April 29th. I don't know. A lot of people did not play this game, but they really hyped it up, and it was a terrible experience. It's like they just completely abandoned all the passion making a handheld version, I think because they knew no one would buy it and it would suck and stuff. So yeah, actually around that time I was playing a lot of handheld games, especially Lego games, and I would get contact. I was actually friends with a lot of people and agents who worked with the companies who made these handheld games. Like, for instance, the Lego games that I played on 3DS, I forgot who he was. I think it was Robert Hewson, and there was another one who always kept in contact with me, and they were fond of my videos because I was one of the few YouTubers who did gameplay, walkthroughs, and commentaries of handheld games. A lot of people always overlooked the handheld versions, went straight for the console versions because of views and all that. But for me, things work differently. You know, people wouldn't come to my channel to watch handheld games. But when I did the obscure games, the handheld games, I would get all the views because, you know, people would be looking for that and I would be the first one that appears in the search. So it got to the point that some agents, some people who were working in the company would actually let me or give me a review copy of their handheld title so I could play it and, you know, give my review on it. And the best thing I liked about it is, like, they didn't care whether it was positive or negative. You know, I wasn't bought off and paid for like IGN. All they wanted was just me to play it, because me playing it already gives them and their game publicity and makes other people buy it. And I can't tell you how many people actually bought a lot of the 3DS games that I used to play on my channel. So I remember this one agent who worked with high voltage software. He told me he would love me to play the Amazing Spider-Man 2 on the 3DS to give more publicity and so they could sell more titles. And I was happy to do it because I remember doing the first Amazing Spider-Man on the 3DS, and while that's not like the greatest thing, it was still pretty fun to play. It was 3D, so I thought I was going to get a 3D experience with this one. So I was like, okay, no problem, I don't mind showcasing your game. And then I played it and it was like, what? So it was terrible. So I even put in the description in the part 1, I was like, my reason for this playthrough is quite simple: to warn and prevent anyone from buying this game on the 3DS, and to make sure Activision never produces a game of this mediocrity ever again. Enjoy the show. Now, obviously, I said it was Activision back then, but it was actually high voltage software. But still, I mean, this was poor management from Activision. They were the ones that, you know, overlooked everything, and they allowed this disaster to be made. Like, I still can't believe when I think of that game. Like, many times I just wanted to quit and to end the playthrough because I was not having fun. You can even tell by my voice, I was sounding so bored. I just opted for like post commentary, but I had to get it done because I was like, look, this guy gave me, you know, the code to play the game immediately, so I'm going to do it. And I was the only one who did a walkthrough of that game commentary. There were like, I think 2 other people who played it on YouTube. One did a long play of it, but it was no commentary, and the other one did like 1 or 2 videos of it and stopped. So yeah, I was the only one who did a complete playthrough, but I don't think that's anything to be proud of because the game sucks. So where am I going with this story? Well, I'm gonna get to it, but as you know, the game was bad. A shitty 2D basic gameplay, combat, stupid swinging transitions. You know, like there was actually no 3D. It was only like when you're trying to go from one city to another. It was just so automated. It was terrible. The cutscenes look like stills from Windows 95. Reminds me of this old Spider-Man game I used to play on the Windows 95. It was terrible. Don't watch it because it's boring and I'm bored playing the game. So after that, there would be no more Spider-Man games until 2 years later when Insomniac was announced. Usually after I play games, agents usually get back to me saying that they liked watching my video, but this guy was silent. I think when he saw the video and saw how negative I was, he didn't even bother writing back to me. But that's why I was so excited when I saw a Spider-Man trailer on the PS4 back in 2016. Because I was like, yes, this is the Spider-Man game I've been wanting. Something like Arkham games. Because I remember they kept on saying the Amazing Spider-Man 1 was going to play like the Batman Arkham games, and it was just an average poor man's imitation. But I seriously think that because of this, because I wasn't the only one who talked bad about the Amazing Spider-Man 2 game. A lot of people criticized the console version. I was one of the few people who criticized the handheld, and I knew after this they wouldn't make another handheld Spider-Man game again, because I know they lost a lot of money from this, because a lot of people saw the video and didn't even bother buying the game. So I know the game completely bombed in sales. And when it bombs in sales, you're not going to make another Spider-Man handheld game. So there were no more Spider-Man games from Activision in general after that year. Like, they did Shattered Dimensions, Edge of Time, Ultimate. Those were original games, but they never did anything movie tie-in. Now, I know the MCU, Marvel Cinematic Universe, stopped doing movie tie-in games since after Phase 1. They only did Iron Man, Thor, Hulk, and Captain America. And that was all produced by Sega, and they were trash. They killed the movie tie-in, comic book, movie, video game genre. They killed that completely. Of course, it would be Sega that would do that. But still, you know, they didn't have to make an Insomniac type of Spider-Man, but I think it was passion and it was for the fans because it was something we all wanted, you know, we all talked about. So it has to be people like me because of the negative feedback we gave, you know, they took that feedback and they made the Spider-Man game on the PS4. So that's my little story of how I think I definitely crippled the handheld market for Spider-Man 2, The Amazing Spider-Man 2, and I think ultimately that snowballed, the domino effect, and the huge mediocrity of TASM 2 led to the existence of Spider-Man Insomniac for PS4 and its success. So hopefully they'll learn this, the feedback from the fan base. So hopefully they'll learn this with the whole Spider-Man Marvel's Avengers PS4 exclusivity, because that one was stupid. You know, I totally thought they were going to let it connect with Insomniac Spider-Man, because it's like they're coming out with the Miles Morales spin-off game the end of the year, December, right, on the PS5. So that could be like, okay, Miles Morales is taking over for now because Peter Parker is busy fighting with the Avengers. But apparently they're going to make that a different Spider-Man now, which completely just defeats the whole idea of making it exclusive. It's all because of money and Sony. So I doubt they'll listen to the fans and make it available, make Spider-Man available on all systems. And this is not a timed exclusive, so I don't know. But who knows, we'll see. The Spider-Man franchise in general, both movies, comics, games, they always learned from shitty business deals, movies, and games. From Avi Arad sabotaging the movies, and we got Spider-Man 3 or The Amazing Spider-Man 2, which led to Spider-Man moving on to the MCU and the whole Sony and Marvel deal, to them making another deal after Spider-Man Far From Home. Now they're going to expand Spider-Man's universe and have him have his own universe, which will be adjacent to the MCU. The Spider-Man franchise has always learned from its mistakes and fan feedback, and they've gotten better. You know, I wish the same could apply for the Sonic franchise. I wish the same could be for that the games improve, because it's gotten a lot of fan feedback, but that's up to Sega. Alright guys, what do you think about this video and my little story? And are you excited for Spider-Man Miles Morales on the PlayStation 5? Have you played Spider-Man Insomniac, the original, on the PS4? What do you think about it? And are you excited for the potential sequel for it? So let me know down in the comments below. Remember to smash the like button, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. And yeah, until next time, I'm out.